For those who are wondering, after watching the video, I watched it a few more times and really took the time to look and see exactly why the blade broke on the pocket trail master. And from what I can conclude, the breakage seems to be because the blade, actually the cutting edge rolled. What I mean by that, and this is my thin bear, which you really can't see, it's kind of, but basically on this very cutting edge right through here, when it rolled over, which you can see because he points it out in the video, it put, not only did it dull it and mean that it wouldn't cut as well, but it also put the stress riser through the blade, or through this part of the blade. And that stress riser meant that when he continued to baton with it, all it did was just cause it to want to fracture and put cracks through it and eventually break it because of the stress. Now, for those that say, oh, all the lateral pressure he put on the blade, that wouldn't have been it, because if it would have been right through here, right in this area where you can see the blade wanting to bend, would have been where all that stress would have gone. Not up here, further up, where the blade would have been firmly supported by wood on both sides, because it wouldn't have bent there. It would have bent where it could have, at the place of least resistance, which would have been back here, because there wasn't any pressure on these two sides. But earlier today, I took this knife out, which is the same, as far as I know, it's about, I think the same thickness steel and the same 4116 crump, which is not bad for a cheap steel. I mean, you're considering I paid, I think, $9.50 for this from my guy, which decent deal. But so I took this out and I decided to see what it would do. So I batoned it through a few pieces of cedar I had laying around. About I posted a video with some pics. Weren't two big pieces of cedar, and then there was a piece of what I believe is oak. I think it is. Might have been an old piece of maple. Pretty hard. It'd been dead for a while, spinning up. And batoning through those didn't have any problems. I batoned through a few knots through the cedar, so it wasn't. I mean, didn't have too much problems. Gave it a couple of good extra whacks, and it cut right there where it pushed the knot to the side, or pushed the grains around the wood to the side. Didn't actually cut through the knots on all occasions. Small ones it did, big one it did. Then I took and I cut it through a pine core, or the heartwood of a pine. Basically, it was a pine tree that had fallen a while back, and the outer wood rotted away. So all that was left was the very core, which, you know, what pines, that's what they tend to do. I cut through it, didn't have too many problems. I cut it the same way. I cut it at one angle and I tapped it in at a V, and then I went to the other side and finish and clean the cut. Then I went until I got to the point I could no longer baton with it, and then I took and I widened the groove and continued to cut it at different angles all the way around it. So if I cut like this and then like that, and I cut more here and right here. Now I'm not trying to cut my finger, I'm just illustrating. And by that I was able to cut through it fairly quickly, about as quick as I could use my bow saw, maybe a little slower, although I wasn't taking any pictures at that point. So, to be perfectly honest, would I use this fixed blade knife in a survival situation? Well, yes and no. If this was all I had on my side and I had to cut wood, yeah, I'd use it very carefully. But this would not be my primary blade. It would be used for smaller tasks, maybe if I had to do something more intricate. As I say, the pocket Bushman, back to that, considering this is a response. This knife is fairly close in terms of thickness and blade size. Design's a little different, but the pocket Bushman, as several people have written and posted, and as I mentioned on the, I don't know if I remember if I mentioned on Cold Steel's forum or not, which that's a whole other story. But basically, a lot of people said that, oh, it was gross abuse of the blade, and that, oh, you should get a fixed blade. Well, the problem is that the locking mechanism on the folding knife, which I got my folding knife right here, this one here is a liner lock. It's the same difference. Basically, if I was to baton this through wood, and this liner lock failed, this liner lock right there, if it failed, and this blade goes like this, that would be a failure because of the locking mechanism of the folding knife. But if the blade breaks, and this blade breaks from this knife, that's not gross as light of it being. That's not gross abuse of it being a folding knife. That's just you used it beyond its capacity, which means essentially that even if you would have had a knife like this, and it would have put the dent in it, bent where it bent over, and he'd have continued batoning, it would have broken this knife, or a roach belly, or any other knife of this thickness. So all those people out there need to understand and look at what it is before you comment. Oh well, my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt.